which means we're measuring things in inches, feet, yards, and miles. But the rest of the world, most of the other countries, use the metric system. And in the metric system, we measure things in millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers, okay? And so today we're going to learn a little bit about what is the metric system, and we're also going to look at how to convert units within the metric system, okay? And so, there we go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just kind of brainstorm and see what you already know about the metric system. Where have you seen these units of measure before, okay? And so we said the metric system, we generally measure things with millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. So can you think of anything that you have seen measured in any of these units, millimeters or centimeters or meters or kilometers? And you might want to know the symbols, because you may have seen the symbols before. So for millimeter, the symbol is mm. For centimeter, we have cm. For meter, just m. And for kilometer, this is km. So have you seen anything ever measured in a metric unit like this? And all of these are measurements of length, so how long something is. Have you seen the symbol mm before? Yeah, on what? Where have you seen that? Now, you've seen it on our worksheets, right? In our books. But outside of the classroom, like out at Walmart or at home, have you seen any of these units of measure? What's that? Kilometers?
But I don't know how, like the GPS maybe
Okay, so on GPS you've seen kilometers. That would make sense because kilometers are a unit of measure that measures long distances, similar to miles. So we might see on our GPS, you know, do you want your instructions in U.S. customary miles or do you want it in metric, kilometers? Okay. Where else have we seen these units before? Ian, I think.
I've seen a meter on a meter stick. That's it.
Okay, a meter stick. You've seen a meter stick before. Okay. MM is actually something we've seen, but you may not recognize that you've seen it before. How many of you guys have used mechanical pencils before? The kind that are reloadable. Okay. And you know when you go to buy lead for the mechanical pencil, it'll say 0.5 or 0.7. That's a measure of millimeters, and it usually says mm after that, millimeters, because it's talking about the width of the lead, how wide the lead is. And so we could use pencil lead is an example of millimeters. Okay? And centimeters, hopefully you've seen when you use a standard ruler, centimeters are usually on the opposite side. So on one side of your ruler you'll have inches, but if you flip that ruler over, you'll see that you can measure things in centimeters as well. Okay. Okay, so here are some examples that will help you kind of understand how long each of these units are. Okay? So in U.S. customary, we can estimate. We can say an inch is about this much, right? We know what an inch looks like. Well, in metric system, we need to know what these units look like. Okay? So how long is a millimeter? Well, a millimeter can be thought of as the thickness of a paper clip. How thick a paper clip is. So that's a very, very small unit of measure. We could also, this is a jar of mustard seeds. How many of you have seen mustard seeds before? You know what those look like. They're tiny, tiny little seeds. It's the width of a mustard seed. That's a millimeter. Or the thickness, not the width this way, but the thickness of your fingernail. That's a millimeter. Or we could also think of it as how thick a credit card or an ID card is. That's a millimeter. So it's an extremely small unit of measure. Okay, and we can look at how long is a centimeter as well. So you see the ruler here, and this is someone's pinky finger placed on the ruler. So 1 centimeter is about the width of your pinky finger. So it's about this much. It's actually 10 of those tiny little millimeters. Okay, so a centimeter is even smaller than an inch. It's how wide a AAA battery is. That's a centimeter. Or we can think of it as if I take 2 standard number 2 pencils and put them side by side, the distance across that is a centimeter, about 1 centimeter. Okay, and then we can talk about how tall is a meter. How much is a meter? Well, a meter is actually 100 centimeters. So if you can imagine 100 AAA batteries lined up in a row, that's a meter. It's about half the height of a standard door. Most doors in your home or in our classroom here are about 2 meters high. And so 1 meter is about half of a standard door. The height of a baseball bat, that's usually about a meter. The average human leg is about 1 meter. Or a walking stick, which is usually the same height as a human leg, that's about 1 meter. Okay? Okay, and then how far or how long is a kilometer? So in the first picture you see some gentlemen walking. So if I were to walk at an average pace, just a normal pace, not exercising, but just strolling, okay? After walking for about 10 minutes, I would have walked about a kilometer, okay? Or here you see a city block. In bigger cities, where we have lots and lots of city blocks, 6 of those city blocks is about 1 kilometer. We actually have a mountain in Kentucky that is exactly 1 kilometer high. The elevation of that mountain is exactly 1 kilometer. So this is a picture of Pine Mountain in Pineville, Kentucky. Has anybody ever heard of or been to Pineville, Kentucky? No, they have a state park there, and it's Pine Mountain State Park, but that mountain is exactly 1 kilometer high. And then here we have a map of our campus. So if I were to walk all the way around our campus, I will walk about 1 mile. But 1 mile is actually more than 1 kilometer. So I would need to walk about 3/4 of the way around, and I would have walked about 1 kilometer. Okay? Okay, so before we can really talk about converting units in the metric system, we need to review some concepts related to calculation. And so the first thing I want to review is how to multiply by 10. And this is with decimals primarily. We're not going to work with fractions today, but with decimals. So if I have, for example, 3.0, and I want to multiply that by 10, so that's 3, right? 3 by 10 is what? 30. 30, okay? So if I multiply 3 by 10, my answer is we'll try that again. Okay, so if I multiply 3 by 10, we said the answer is 30. 30. And where is the decimal in the number 30? Where's the decimal located? After your 0, after the 0 in 30. So my decimal is right here. Notice that the decimal in the number 3, or in 3.0, is before the 0. So what I've actually done is I've just moved the decimal. When I multiply by 10, I'm moving the decimal 1 place to the right. So 3.0 times 10 is 30, 30.0.